Hi everyone, my name is Lisa Livingston and I am a Senior Customer Success Manager at Klaviyo. So I work with customers to really make the most out of the platform. And for those of you that don't know Klaviyo, we power smarter digital relationships, and we're making it easier for businesses to capture, store, analyze, and predictively use their customer data. We work together with brands like Citizen Watch, Dermalogica, and Living Proof. And today I am joined by Ray, who is the co-founder of Sene. And I'm very excited to be here, Ray. I'm happy you're here too.
Pumped to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So for those who don't know Sene, Ray, can you tell us a little bit more about your brand and your customers as well?
Yes. So at Sene, we make sizeless clothing using AI. And essentially what that means is instead of using standard sizes, we are generating a unique custom fit for every person, but we're a designer line too. So it's kind of combining a fashion brand, but instead of having a set of standard sizes you shop from, everything is uniquely made to fit. And you don't have to get scanned, you don't have to measure yourself. You fill out a simple quiz. Things like, these are the typical sizes I wear, these are my fit issues, and we generate a unique fit for every person down to the 1/4 centimeter level of precision. And we do, everything from a stretch suit to denim to everything I'm wearing, the bombers, quarter zips, pullovers, shorts, whatnot. And you just take this quiz one time and then everything is cut to fit, made to order. Essentially it's supposed to be a more sustainable way to experience clothing where it's better for us, it's better for the planet, and it's been a really fun journey. I think more recently we've done product lines and collabs with Peloton instructor Emma Lovewell. We've done it with Ashley Tisdale, UFC champion Carlos Condit, those are a few.
Nice, thank you so much. It's good to hear about your customers too. It's fun to see what brands you're working with. And so it seems like you have a really personal nature and relationship with your customers. So what does, talking about this white glove experience that you offer your customers, can you tell me a little bit more about what that process really looks like and how you do that?
Yeah, so great question. I think for us, it's about not just personalizing. Of course, the clothing is personalized because the fit is custom, but it's also about making the experience of shopping more personalized as well. So what happens is when you, of course, I think most e-com brands, when you shop, you see one model in one size. It's starting to diversify a little bit, but we... one is, I think our model assortment is pretty expansive and we're continuing working on expanding that so that when you take the quiz, you get matched to models that look more similar to you. And then from an email standpoint, because once they take the quiz, we get the lead, get their email, and then every communication from there is the imagery is also matched to a model that we think will that the person is going to resonate with. So it's all about how can we make it easier for people to not only get clothes that they feel really good in, but also to see content that's relevant, contextual, and where it makes it easier for them to imagine themselves in the final product.
Yeah, and what really stands out to me is that you really are very personalized. So can you tell me actually a little bit more about the quizzes that you do? Yeah,
so essentially, the idea of having something custom fit has been around for a long time. Yeah. I mean, before mass-produced clothing was around, everyone was making their own clothes to fit, right? And then, but nowadays, when we think about custom fit, what do you think? You think expensive, you think guys who wear suits in finance, and that's kind of it. But the idea of having something that is sizeless, that is personal, makes me feel really good about myself, is a much bigger idea. But the problem is, typically it's really expensive, it takes forever, and it's a very small type of category of clothing that you can have access to that. What we wanted to do is democratize access to clothes that make you feel really good. And the way we do that is we knew that there were a couple parts of traditional clothing manufacturing and just the custom process made it cost prohibitive for most people. And so what we did, we created this AI engine. It's proprietary. We built it in-house. It's called SmartFit. And you answer simple questions like, this is my height, this is my weight, these are my typical sizes. You know, when bottoms fit me in the waist, they don't fit me in the hips, like the dreaded waist gap, or pants are always too short, they're always too long, or if it fits me in the shoulders, it's loose in the body. And so that helps us, just give an example, like if we have your height and weight and some sort of approximation of like chest size, we can actually get to 95% accuracy on the rest of your body measurements. So that's step one. But more importantly, we're not all trying to wear stuff that's skin tight, right? Like we all have different preferences on fit. So we're also there's all these different leading indicators of how you prefer things to fit. And so we're also collecting that. And then we use that to generate the final product. So the goal is to get something that is made to not only flatter your shape, but also to suit your preferences. And the cool thing, actually, is that we can also ingest all that SmartFit data into Klaviyo as well. So when we have all that information when we send campaigns, when we have flows, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Great. That's awesome to hear. And it's really cool how you're using that smart data to then personalize your communication to your customers. So that's really interesting to hear. And I'm going to pivot a little bit because I want to talk a little bit more about SMS and how you leverage SMS. But before we jump into that, can you tell me a little bit more about why you decided to use SMS? Like, what was the thought process behind it?
Yeah, I think we always know SMS is it's a much more personal touch point than email. And so kind of a unique opportunity to reach people in a different format. It's a different, if email is sort of your front door lobby, SMS is the living room, you kind of get in closer to people. And so you have to be really careful, but it's also a great opportunity if you incorporate it right into your customer journey. So I think we were excited to have that, since we're already getting permission to personalize people are welcoming us in closer. SMS also felt natural.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, we definitely recommend using both email and SMS in one platform. It's so great to have all of that data in one place and to really utilize it that way. So my next question is, how has your SMS strategy evolved in the last 2 years, and how does it really work together with your email marketing?
Yeah. That's great. I mean, I think one thing we'll know, and why we've, there's been a lot of different SMS providers that proliferated. The reason we've stayed with Klaviyo as we've grown is because for us, it's all about having a central location to have a view on the customer and to be able to communicate to them clearly throughout their whole customer journey. Like being able to talk to them before they take SmartFit, after they've taken SmartFit, giving us a lot more information to then be much more thoughtful about the types of content that we're surfacing to them, not only based on the types of products that they're interested in, but also on what they're telling us around typical pain points on fit, like how they prefer things to fit. So all that information to have it in one central place, and also so that when we're sending emails and SMS, that it's all thoughtfully done based on where they are in their journey. I think at one point we actually tested separating our email and SMS, and then we ended up pissing off a bunch of customers because it was, I think just we didn't have as clear of a picture of where they were in the funnel. Now for us, I think with SMS, to the point of it being more intimate, it feels like a lot of brands actually don't do a great job with SMS. Not to say we do a fantastic job, but I think we've learned a few things that are helpful. I think it's all about adding value. It's one of the most perfect places to, as we all think about retention and content strategy, it's surprising how few brands actually use SMS to elevate the types of content that they're already making for retention. So for us, we send information around how to care for your clothing when it's being custom made. We send lookbooks. So we launch 2 to 3 lookbooks a month. So like all our lookbooks go out on there. We do new product drops and then sales. But usually you just kind of get banged over the head with sales. And we think a lot about like what type of stuff would we text a friend? What would be fun? What would add value? And then, so we're a lot more selective about how we use SMS.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much. And it sounds like you've really found a good way to use SMS in your strategy to get really personal with your customers and to really find a good way to connect with customers as well. Yeah. Okay. So my question then is, do you have any specific examples of SMS strategies that maybe have worked really well for you, or do you have specific learnings of SMS strategies that you can share with us?
Yeah, I think one thing we'll say is that I remember when we first brought on our head of growth, he was like, your cohort retention behavior is surprisingly consistent, because usually it's a little bit more variable. And I think a lot of that comes down to our email and SMS and the degree to which it's providing a lift for our business. And, I think for every business, it's going to be different. For us, we found that beautiful creative is just over time, we've stepped up our investment into beautiful creative for our customers. It makes sense. We're in fashion, right? And so we just found that like the more we invested into lookbooks and like things that inspire people that were really beautiful, created the world, the more we could move units, which is great. That what was creatively rewarding was also making a huge difference in terms of driving loyalty, driving repeat. And then we also found that it was also a great use for SMS as a way to sort of keep people, to reward people for staying on the list. And so we really only do 3 types of SMS. Like, of course, if there's a sale, we do it. We don't do sales that often. We do new product drops, and then we do lookbooks. Those are essentially the only things we do. So things that we feel like are going to really add value to people's lives. The product drops we do because we sell out of stuff pretty frequently, so letting people who care get it early. But yeah, we just found that creating stuff that really helps people like elevate their day, get them inspired. So, for brands that are, if you're creating content for YouTube, if you're creating content for social, are there different ways in which you can house that content on your site too, and then use SMS as a way to drive people there? And I think it'd be interesting to measure the lift of that on the business.
Yeah, absolutely. And then a question about your audience, because you mentioned that you really found out what works well for your audience. Can you tell me more about how you went about finding out what works for your audience and maybe what doesn't work for your audience?
Yeah, great question. I think we experimented a lot. I think initially we were trying a bunch of different kinds of bundles and trying different kinds of drops, and it was okay. And then we started testing into lookbooks, and for us that was actually a huge unlock for our business. And so yeah, I think we found that being too promotional actually was a very short-term fix. Didn't really help. Launching totally new products wasn't helping, but yeah, just great creative. And over time, we've expanded our creative team. The budgets we use for lookbooks now are very different from what we started with. But we try to methodically test into it and run experiments and being okay with it and saying this is an okay loss. If it doesn't work out, let's try it. And then if it does, let's lean into it a little bit more. Let's lean into it a little bit more. And then, over time, you get a sense. But yeah, I think you have to also commit for a period of time.
Yeah.
Usually, if you just do it once or twice, you're just not getting enough reps under your belt to know if it's an execution problem or if the concept itself is not working.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for those insights. And I fully agree. I think, so I work with a lot of customers, and what we see is that testing, experimenting just works really well. And it's really the only way to find out what works for your audience, and that might not work for a different audience. So it's good that you've been able to really hone in on those strategies that work for you. And those are the lookbooks. So in regards to the lookbooks, like how often do those come out? Do you have a specific cadence for that? And like how does that work together with both your email and your SMS marketing strategy?
Yeah, so I think we started out where we were dropping lookbooks once a month. Now we drop it probably every other week.
Okay.
Sometimes, every week. So it just depends. But I think, we just found that we can either, there's a couple ways you can put your money toward, right? You can put your money toward the discount. You can put your money toward Meta. Or you can put your money toward like really beautiful creative, and it's different ways to spend it. We kind of liked the latter, but we didn't know if it was going to work. And so now I think we're increasing our frequency a lot. I think ultimately we'd like to move to a lookbook a week, and you also have to figure out like what's sustainable and repeatable for your business. For us, that can work, and we also find that like that content is probably good for a good 2 weeks, and then it's done. There's a trail to it, which is great, but it's really potent for a week and a half to 2 weeks, and then we can't keep using it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there's only a certain time frame that you can keep doing things, of course. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about BFCM, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I know that is super relevant at this time of year because I think we're only 41 days away from it. I get like the daily emails telling me how many days were left from BFCM. So BFCM is a time that a lot of brands will be communicating to their customers. There will be a lot of outreach. So do you have any specific things that you'll be doing during that time in regards to your SMS strategy, and how will you make sure that you really stand out during that time?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I mean, one, I think a lot of people know that this is one of the only times in the year where you're allowed to really harass people. But I also think it's a great opportunity to cut through the noise through personalization. So, if you're a brand that has, a lot of brands are moving toward having some sort of intake format through a quiz. So I think it's a brilliant way, not just to get a lead, but to also make your marketing convert better. So what we're going to try to do is really tailor a lot of the content toward, so not generic blast, emails and SMS, but really tailor it toward product category interest, body shape and size, typical fit issues. So we can like speak much more directly to that. You think about a hook that you use in an ad and how powerful it is to nail the hook. Well, kind of what you want is by the time they're on your email and SMS list that you already know which hook works for them, and you can keep on leaning into that or letting that inspire types of communications through the holiday period.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I love that. And I do believe that is most successful during that time, really get personal. So maybe you can tell me a little bit more about the specific data that you collect and then use to get so personal. And I know you mentioned a little bit about the data you get from quizzes and sizes and maybe, previous products that they viewed. But can you let me know a little bit more about what specifically you do to use the data in Klaviyo to then get personal within your communication?
Yeah. I think there's some stuff is more basic, and then some stuff is more unique to our business. We'll look at which product they were on when they first took SmartFit. It's probably the leading indicator of what product category they're interested in. So the person that's interested in denim is probably very different from a person who's interested in our stretch suit. And also, we're looking at sort of what gender they identify with and what types of like overall collections they're into. We look at, for example, like an easy way is we'll also know based on the quiz, generally like what their body shape and size is. And so we can put them into flows where the models are more similar. And we found out through interviews that it was really important. I mean, kind of anecdotally it makes sense, but also we did more research, and it was just clear that people wanted to see models that look like them, right? It makes sense. So, we then funnel them into flows where they're more likely to resonate with a particular model. One thing we haven't done as good of a job in, but we're like, this is stuff we're doing research on now, is trying to collect more general like style preference info, because we collect a lot of category specific, but not like, I really love patterns and that level of info. So I think there's just so much opportunity. Like, how much money do we not make because the marketing is just like, I open so many emails every day where I open it and I'm like, I don't really care about this. And then, because the segment is so generic, it's like highly engaged people, and they send it out. But it's not that much harder to be much more targeted in the way we're sending communications, in the way we're swapping like images out. It doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah. And I love how you say that you showed people different imagery based on their data, right? So if something, it might relate much better that way than when you do use a more generic image, for example. And do you have any other specific findings or learnings that maybe were really surprising to you when using SMS?
I think for SMS, it's also, I think the attribution is tough on SMS.
Yeah.
So it's better to do it as a lift test. And, you can, I think it's just important. Like, email has much better attribution than SMS. A lot of us, like when I get text, I don't click the links, but I'll go to the site through search bar. So it's better to do lift tests to get a sense of if it's adding value to the business. Because obviously, SMS is more expensive. So but I think we've done it enough to know that there's a clear lift from SMS that we can't measure through even in platform. But I would say measure the lifts and then try to do it in a way. I think also, like, it'd be really interesting for people to measure the lift through value add content and then see how that is, lifting revenue for the business.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. And I think something for people to also keep in mind that I've seen be very successful for our customers is to really get specific in using both email and SMS within their automated flows. So for example, I know the cost of SMS is higher, so you want to be more conservative maybe with sending out SMS in your flow. So something that you could do is make sure that when people get an email within their flow, let's say an abandoned cart email, they don't necessarily interact with that email, but you still want to make sure that this person converts, right? That's the goal of the abandoned cart flow. So what you can do is then really use SMS in a smart way where you only reach out to those people via SMS that have not interacted with your email. And I think that's also the power of the platform and having both email and SMS in the platform, that you can get so much smarter about that specifically. Especially like you mentioned, you might not want to send SMS to as many people because it is more it's more in your face, let's say, which is also, again, the benefit of it, but you want to be careful that you're not oversending, you're not sending too many times or too much. So I think really getting smart about using both email and SMS within one flow is I love to see that with customers, and it just works so well if you are just able to set it up the right way. So I love to hear these insights from you. I think this is amazing. And so it also seems like you really have found the right balance between email and SMS, so that's fantastic to hear as well. And I know we could be chatting about this forever, but we don't have that much time. So I'm going to ask you one last question, and that is, do you have any specific tips or tricks for the audience?
Use Klaviyo if you aren't. And then I think one of the most neglected opportunities for SMS, I think, is post-purchase. So a lot of times you think post-purchase, I've gotten the purchase, whatever, it's just tracking information. But it's such a great opportunity to show value for the next purchase. So yeah, I think it's surprising how few brands, like if you have their SMS info, like use that time. Give them information on how to, if it's, it could be about how to care for the product, how to make it last, how to style it with different things. Like make it just feel totally selfless and create a massive amount of value. And by doing that, you get permission for them to open up your SMS. Because I think for all of us, right, like how many brands you get you'll look at the first 2-3 SMSs and then the text messages, and then afterward you're like, oh my gosh, I just get spammed all the time, but you're too lazy to unsubscribe. But if you can use that moment and surprise them with how selfless the communication is, you've earned the permission to get them to read the more transactional or like the more promotional stuff.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. I do think I very much agree with you. Post-purchase is a fantastic opportunity to increase your brand loyalty, for customers to say like, oh, I really like this. I'm getting a thank you message. I feel special. I feel appreciated by this brand. So I really like that you mentioned the post-purchase, because I agree. It's a great opportunity to build that trust between the customer and your brand. So thank you, Ray.
Thank you so
I know
much.
we're getting at the end of our talk. So I want to welcome everyone to join us at the Klaviyo booth that we have here today. And we can talk more about all things strategy, email, SMS, and our lovely other products. We have reviews. We have our CDP at Klaviyo. So feel free to join us at the booth. And Ray, thank you so much for joining me today. Thank
you for having
your
me.
insights. Yeah. Thank you so much.